USC grabbed one more piece out of the transfer portal, and it looks like California's best recruits, they're locking on to USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Whether you are watching this show on YouTube, whatever platform you want to pick and you want to download this podcast, it's always going to be free. I'm always going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. I hope everyone had a great Easter weekend, end of the Passover holiday week. Hey, USC is in a good spot right now. Lincoln Riley, Chad Bowden, USC's general manager, they found another piece of their roster puzzle, and they had to go back to South Bend, Indiana for it. And not only that, you got the best for California. I think the recruitment for linebacker Talanoa Ili, that might be coming to an end. I think that one actually might be over. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. First, though, last week, I told my everydayers that USC was hosting a bunch of visitors over the weekend. Transfer portal guys, high school recruits. Well, USC got their first commitment out of the transfer portal this spring. And they went back to South Bend, Indiana. Chad Bowden remembered a relationship he had developed. So he said, you know what? Let's go see if Kennedy Urlacher wants to be a Trojan. He had put his name into the transfer portal with a do not contact tag attached to his name. We know what that means. Anytime a anytime a player puts his name into the transfer portal with the tag do not contact, just remind everybody, typically that means they know where they're going. The deal is done. There's no reason for any other programs to kind of muddy the waters, so to speak. So former Notre Dame safety now, his name is Kennedy Erlocker, son of NFL Hall of Fame linebacker from the Chicago Bears, Bruin Urlacher. He's committed to join USC. I told you that he went into the portal with that no contact tag. So that he knew once he went in there, Chad Bowden had that relationship. That thing was pretty much done, signed and sealed and delivered. This is how this is how a Notre Dame insider described Kennedy's game. Quote, Kennedy Urlacher is one of those guys who always seems to be around the football. He was considered a tweener as a recruit, too small to play linebacker, too slow to play safety. But at the college level, great instincts can make you look faster than you are. Erlocker has tremendous instincts, and when he squares you up, he makes you feel it. He was a heavy contributor on special teams too. End quote. As far as I'm concerned, with the Erlocker pedigree, he's a take. I don't care if he's that tweener safety linebacker. Right now, USC is looking for an answer at nickel. Greedy Vance filled that role perfectly last year. Well, Kennedy has that positional versatility that you can play him at nickel, you can play him at free safety. Pardon me. But he also has that hybrid body where you can probably play him at linebacker as well in certain situations. He played 14 games for Notre Dame last year. Most of it came on special teams. And I told you on the last episode why I think he's a perfect fit for USC. This is in Kennedy's own words. Quote, honestly, kickoff is my favorite. I love punt. Kick return is all right. But kickoff, I think I can definitely have a shot at playing right there. So you got to love his attitude, right? Anyone who likes playing on special teams just loves playing the game of football for what it is. He loves contact. And he is, again, one of those hybrid linebacker safety type of players. To me, he is another Matt Grudegood. Maybe not quite as tall, but he plays the game the same way. very instinctual, just loves the game. He might not be fast, he might not be big, but he just knows how to play the game the right way. I think because of his size and his instincts, that pedigree, I think he's a perfect fit for this roster, especially with Antonlynn, who sometimes he's looking to get three linebackers on the field. And because of Urlacher's ability to also play pass coverage, now you got somebody who can fill that hybrid role. So again, you've got that versatile piece. There's been talk about USC, possibly looking to bring in two tight ends out of the transfer portal for depth purposes. If they are looking for two, now you're only looking for one because he fills that void. He fills one role. And you've got Kamari Ramsey, you've got Bishop Fitzgerald at safety already. Those two most likely are going to leave after the season. Kamari came back for one more year. Bishop is looking just to put a little bit more on film for his NFL draft resume. But USC, they're loaded at safety with younger guys. You got Christian Pierce. You got Jarvis Boatwright Jr., Marquise Gallegos, James Johnson, who's part of the 2025 class, as well as Stephen Miller and D. Reddick. So next year, all of a sudden, assuming you lose Ramsey and you lose Fitzgerald, Pierce and Erlocker become the veterans in the room, so to speak. At least the ones with the most playing experience. But Kennedy wasn't the only transfer to take a visit over the weekend. He took his visit and then he committed. So that was good news, right? That happened Saturday. USC also brought in a couple of linebackers. Gary Bryant, the young man from South Dakota, and is it Tamir Robinson from Penn State? I hope I'm pronouncing his first name correctly. Tamari. Anyways, Robinson from Penn State, 6'3", 223 pounds. He played in parts of 8 games last year as a redshirt freshman for the Nittany Lions. He finished the year with 11 tackles, including half a sack. He was considered the number 247 overall prospect and the number 27 linebacker in the 2023 recruiting class, according to On3's industry rankings. And then here's what the On3 director of scouting said at that time during his recruitment. Quote, long defender with range and on-field athleticism, plays multiple spots for his high school defense, but projects as an off-ball linebacker with the possibility of growing into a pass rusher long-term. One of the longer linebacker prospects in the 2023 cycle, 6'3", 225, with a 33 and a quarter inch arms. I mean, he's got long arms. So maybe you look at him in the same light that you look at Eric Gentry. Not as tall, but he's got those long arms. So USC is looking at Gary Bryant, Andrew Simpson from Boise State, and Robinson are, I guess, the top linebacker targets. I can't see USC taking two of those guys with Urlacher already in the fold. I made the comment that I think Simpson is probably looking, because he only has 1 year of eligibility left. He's been a starter at Boise State. He won't be a starter at USC, so he's probably looking for a program where he can step into a starter's role. Again, as long as Eric Gentry and Desmond Stevens are healthy, they're staying on the field for the bulk of the reps when USC's defense is on the field. And then behind those two guys, you've got Jaden Walker, Anthony Beavers. So I can see Gary Bryant and Robinson probably being in the lead pack out of those guys. For me, I think Bryant is the take. He's more of a middle linebacker, where Robinson, again, more of an edge guy. The portal closes April 25th, this Friday, end of the week. Fortunately for USC, they haven't taken any significant hits as far as guys leaving, at least so far. We'll see what happens. Still got a few days left. This is the last week of spring practice. Tuesday, Thursday, they close it out Saturday. So we'll see what happens. Once again, USC is being highly selective with the few spots that they're looking for. especially those spots that they're looking for help. They're not just trying to load up bodies. Their roster is pretty close to where they want it. So I think they can be selective with what they want. They don't have to just settle for anything. So those were the transfer guys that they're looking at. But over the weekend, there were some high school visitors. Trojans held practice at the Coliseum again on Saturday. It was a beautiful day. And once again, red carpet was rolled out. Some big names. And even if the players weren't there, parents, the family members were. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Get the supplies you need from the site that only uses the skilled trades SupplyHouse. Let's start over. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades SupplyHouse. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, SupplyHouse is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus brands, you're going to find exactly what you need. And they can ship everything you need from coast to coast. You need help with an order? Not a problem. SupplyHouse offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Masters program offers exclusive perks like dedicated phone lines, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Masters program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, if you use promo code SH5, you're going to get 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. How would you interpret Talanoa Ili's dad's tweet? And this has nothing to do with where his son goes to high school. This has to do with modern day. Last week, if you're watching this, watching Locked On USC, I told you that there was a lot of, visitors on campus, whether it was high school recruits, coaching staff. For instance, modern day's head coach, Raul Lara. Thank you. I got some everydayers who reminded me it's not Lara, it's Laura. Thank you. Anyways, I digress. Anyways, Coach Lara, at modern day's head coach, was back on USC's campus. And, someone had put out a tweet, and all of a sudden Talanoa Ili's dad responded to it. His name is Glenn Ili. Quote, gonna be a feeder program to USC. All right, interesting. On Saturday, Talanoa wasn't at USC's practice. I believe he's back in Hawaii getting ready with his high school team for spring practice. His dad and his family let everybody know that they were going to USC's practice at the Coliseum. Nice, clear 74-degree day, watching USC football in the Coliseum. Had a great time today. Got to see Coach Rob Bruin getting the linebacker room ready for the season. Thank you, Coach Riley, General Manager Chad Bowden, Coach Aaron Ama, as I like to call him, the tip of the spear, and Coach Sean Nua for having us out today. Fight on. So us meant the Ili family without Talanoa. That literally comes on the heels of all those crystal balls that are rolling in for USC right now. As far as I'm concerned, it's a lock. USC is going to get the state's best linebacker. Finally, right? They lost out on Kingston Viliamalasa last year, Madden Faremo. Not this year. This year they're keeping him home. They're going to make sure Talanoa puts on the cardinal and gold. I guess the question is when, right? Is he going to commit before his official visit, or is he going to do it during his official visit in June? I don't care. Just I'll be patient. I can wait. I would prefer it before, just because it gives us another talking point. It makes Oregon fans feel really bad. But even, look, Helen Keller, Stevie Wonder, they can read the tea leaves right now. So if that's a sign that USC has the lead for his commitment, I'm not sure what else you really need. When you got the family showing up just to watch practice, and the actual prospect isn't there, I think that's a solid sign, right? Look, I don't know what else you need. If that's not a sign that USC leads, I don't know what it is. Scott Schrader over there at wearesc.com, he put out his latest intel. And this one has to do with 5-star athlete Brandon Arrington. You know, the speedster from San Diego. Go check it out. By the way, Brandon, fast. He was at the Mount Sac relays. Fast. Scott's also keeping a running list of guys who he thinks could be committing next. At least just a list of guys. Guys like in-state targets, linebacker Sean Scott from Mater Dei. You got tight end Luke Sorensen, Servite. If Tom Tapui could commit to USC twice, he would. He was back at USC again over the weekend. He was hanging out with Brandon Lockhart, Madden Reardon, all of his buddies. Yeah, he's pretty much locked into USC. I cannot emphasize that enough. And if that's not, look, the guy is literally on USC's campus every other day. If that's not enough to convince people like J-Hop over there at Scoop Duck, who keeps telling the Oregon fan base it's not over, whatever you need to tell yourself, but this one's over. Stop tormenting yourself like that. Sometimes you just have to say, you know what? USC recruiting is doing what they need to do. And I'm bringing this up because without California recruits, Oregon all of a sudden now has to really press hard across the rest of the country. And that's the goal. USC, they're locking down California. It's their backyard. It's going back to the way it used to be. So I'm not sure who's going to commit next, but it does kind of feel like maybe USC is going to start a run of offensive linemen. Vlad Diakonov, he got it started last week, beginning of the week. But you had guys who were on campus, and you had Samuel Utu. Kinyi Pepe was back on campus. I don't think you truly understand how big he is until you see him standing next to Aaron Donald, who was also watching USC's practice. Yeah, that Aaron Donald used to play for the Rams. Aaron wasn't a big guy to begin with, but Kinyi looks like 2 Aaron Donalds. And I'm not exaggerating. That's how big that young man is. All right. So you had Kinyi Pepe was there. Samuel Utu was there. I don't think Malachi Lee was there, but those would be the 3 offensive linemen that I wouldn't be upset if they made their commitment to USC. I'm just wondering if right now, because USC is kind of focused on the transfer portal, if the recruits were kind of told, hey, you know what? Take a little sabbatical. Take a short hiatus. Take the week off. Let us get the transfer portal stuff figured out. And then once that closes on Friday the 25th, you guys start doing your thing again. Whoever out of the high school ranks joins USC's recruiting class, they're joining these 22 guys. Just want to remind everybody. You got wide receiver Cohen Brown from Texas, Tom Tapui, Jake Johnson, defensive lineman, Texas. I mentioned Vlad Diakonov, Deshaun Rideau, the running back from California. Malik Brooks, defensive lineman, California. Chase Dinas, offensive lineman, California. Jamian Winfield, defensive lineman, Texas. John Fafita, California. Isun Tafa, offensive lineman from Utah. Wide receiver Trent Mosley, his teammate from Santa Margarita Catholic, Samote Kadonga. Quarterback Jonas Williams, Xavier Griffin, R.J. Sermons, Brandon Lockhart, Braden Jones, Madden Reardon. You got Josh Holland, Sean Alston, Andrew Williams, Jamiron Tron Baker. On that note, I think right now in this recruiting class for USC, For me, the biggest mystery position, it's wide receiver. I think USC has a really good handle on what they're going to do with the offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, secondary, running back, obviously taken care of with Alston and Rideau. Quarterback, you got Jonas Williams. You're anticipating Ryder Lyons. Wide receiver, though, who are they going to get? As I mentioned, right now, so far, you got Trent Mosley, Tron Baker. Is Caden Dixon-Wyatt staying home? What about Vance Spafford from Mission Viejo? Those are the two guys I think USC wants the most. If they don't get those guys, does USC go out of state now looking for an elite wide receiver? Agree or disagree? That's the topic I want in the comments when you're done watching this episode. Is wide receiver the position where USC kind of needs to make some inroads? Weird to say that, huh? I mean, USC's wide receiver, you. What do you think? Tell me. Hit me up. All right, one more segment to go. There is nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment, everything feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast, easy, and you can find those tickets just like that when they're in high demand. Prices on the app actually go down as the tip-off gets closer, and with their last-minute deals, you can save up to 60%. Here's a couple of reasons why I like Game Time. You're looking for last-minute deals, right? Priority tickets, last-minute deals. As I just mentioned, you can save up to 60% waiting to the last minute. And not just on basketball, NBA playoff games. You want to go to a concert? You want to go to a comedy club? You want to go check out the LA Kings? Check out Game Time. And because of that, you're going to get peace of mind. You know exactly what you're going to get before you check out. You get to see the view from your seat. And with the Game Time price guarantee, you can always find your tickets with confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. It's official. Nico Iamaleava is a UCLA Bruin. That saga has come to an end. Look, the young man, he's coming back to California. He's going to try and polish up his image. That's the best thing he can do for himself right now. At this point, it really doesn't matter who led him in the wrong direction. It's done. Lesson learned. There might be a positive out of this, though. The decision somehow led him back home. He might not have had a choice if he wanted to play, at the highest level. I'm not saying UCLA football is the highest level, but UCLA is still in LA. You'll get the joke there, some of you. And it is in the Big Ten Conference. So now he has a chance to make UCLA football relevant again. And sooner rather than later. Here's what On3 wrote. Nico Iamaleava's commitment is a massive addition for UCLA. As a redshirt freshman last year, he was Tennessee's full-time starter. He finished the year with 2,616 passing yards and 19 touchdowns while throwing just 5 interceptions. He also recorded 358 yards and 3 scores running the ball. Before Nico got to UCLA, Joey Aguilar was anticipated to be the Bruins starting quarterback. He transferred to UCLA earlier from Appalachian State. He was a front runner. I'm going to be super shocked if he's starting when UCLA kicks off their season. In fact, will he even stick around? There's already talk that he's looking around. I mean, at this point, he's probably wondering, well, why did I even leave Appalachia? Why did I leave Appalachian State? Makes no sense now. No one knew that Nico was going to be dealing with this, I guess we're not going to go through the whole rigmarole. We're not going to go through the story again. Excuse me. I'll tell you this. If Jaden Iamaleava is the starter at the end of the year for USC, I think we know what one of the talking points is going to be when that USC UCLA rolls around at the end of the year. This game's at the Coliseum. It's going to be something to pay attention to. You got 2 transfers leading their schools. That's not going to be the talking point, although that will be part of the talking point. This is going to be the first time 2 Polynesian quarterbacks, yada, yada, yada. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not even sure why this is even a topic in today's athletics. Look, everybody, you got black quarterbacks, you got white quarterbacks, you got Polynesian quarterbacks. This shouldn't even be a topic anymore, but people will make it a talking point. First time in the history of the USC-UCLA rivalry that this is going to happen. I hope it doesn't over. I want the game to be talked about because it's USC versus UCLA for the chance to win the conference. Maybe a playoff is on the line. I really don't care what someone's ethnicity is. I'm not sure how many of you watched last week's Big Ten Squad Show. Last week's episode, we were discussing the over-under for the number of wins for UCLA. And I believe the line is set at 4.5. That's not my line. I think that's the actual betting line. And I was semi-goofing around when I said I could actually see UCLA open the season 4-0, and then losing its next 8 games. Remember, UCLA, they're on the quarter system, so there's no school for those guys in the month of September. All fall camp, all of September during the season, that's all they're focused on is football. They're not even looking at the playbook, but that's it. There's no classes. That's why in the past, typically UCLA will get out of the box quickly. Well, this year they open the season, they host Utah, then they go to UNLV, then they host New Mexico, bye week, and then they go to Northwestern. Will they be 4-0? Probably not. Could they go 4-0 with that schedule? Sure. But then things get kind of serious. They host Penn State, they go to Michigan State, they host Maryland, at Indiana, bye week, they host Nebraska, at Ohio State, Washington, at USC. Assuming Nico survives that long, because UCLA's got some needs, offensive line is a mess. I think if he does survive that long, and let's say UCLA's having a good season, let's say they're at 7 wins, maybe even 8 wins. Pick the wins out of that schedule. Let's assume they're having a decent year. They're having a bounce back season. Will the USC-UCLA game have a national TV audience for the first time in, I don't know, a long time? The USC-UCLA game in 2022, when Caleb won the Heisman, that had a national TV audience. There really wasn't anything on the line other than USC trying to win the Pac-12. Well, USC got into the Pac-12 conference championship game. That win kept them in the playoff hunt. Remember, they needed Corey Foreman's interception at the end of the game to win that thing. So will UCLA be better? Will they be better in 2025 with Nico? Or again, do they just need too much help in other spots? No matter how talented Nico is at quarterback, is he going to be running for his life? Does he have the wide receivers to use? I think they've got running backs. JD Piquel from On3 said this: as much as the story has been, as much as this story has been tough to stomach for college football, it would be absolutely electric for UCLA to be relevant in the Big Ten title race and for the Battle of LA to have national juice. Here's what I know. As far as national interest, I know the state of Tennessee will be hate watching that game, and they'll be doing it from their burnt couches. That's for sure. People are going, what do you mean burnt couches? When Lane Kiffin left Tennessee to become USC's head coach, Tennessee fans burned their couches. It was like they went nuts. Yeah, they went apoplectic, and they were burning anything they can find, including their couches. Look, I'm going to be honest with everybody. As much as I love watching UCLA struggle, it kind of brings a smile to my face. Honk, if UCLA sucks, you see that behind me over there. If we're being honest, college football is much, much better off when both LA schools have good programs. Right now, USC is closer than UCLA. Maybe UCLA is closer now, or taking one step closer. Maybe it's starting to come back slowly. We'll see. I'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll talk more about USC. We'll see what's going on with recruiting. Yep, like I said, spring camp almost over. This is the last week. So any news, notes, information you're looking for, this is the place. Make sure you're tuning in every day to Locked On USC. And when you're done here, don't forget, go check out wearesc.com. That's where you're going to get some other information that I provide for you over there. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.